Welcome back to our channel Hidden Coins World. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1. Today we are diving deep into the world of coins and uncovering the fascinating journey of the United States of America 5-cent coin, popularly known as the nickel, minted in the year 1992. This may look like an ordinary piece of pocket change to most people, but by the end of this video, you'll realize why this specific coin is no ordinary nickel, and why one particular example has become the talk of the numismatic world, shocking collectors, historians, and investors alike with its unbelievable current value of $37 million. So stay with me until the end, because what starts as a simple story about a coin will transform into one of the most incredible tales of rarity, discovery, and unimaginable wealth. The story of the 5-cent coin begins long before 1992. To truly appreciate what makes the 1992 nickel special, we must go back in time and look at the heritage of the nickel in the United States. The 5-cent denomination first emerged in the mid-19th century, evolving through different designs, from the shield nickel of the 1860s, to the Liberty Head, the famous Buffalo nickel, and finally the Jefferson nickel that we still see today. Each transition represented not just a change in design, but a reflection of the times, the culture, and the values of America. By 1938, the Jefferson nickel made its debut, replacing the Buffalo nickel, with a design that showcased the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. This design became iconic and would continue, with small modifications, for decades. Fast forward to 1992, a year that was in many ways ordinary for nickels, yet extraordinary for reasons we will soon uncover. At this point, the Jefferson nickel had already been circulating for more than 50 years. The mint continued striking them by the hundreds of millions, supplying banks, businesses, and everyday Americans with this humble coin. To the naked eye, the 1992 nickel seemed unremarkable. It bore the familiar face of Jefferson on the front, sculpted by Felix Schlag, the German-born artist whose design was selected back in the late 1930s. On the reverse, Monticello still stood proudly, the neoclassical mansion that Jefferson designed himself, a symbol of American ingenuity and architectural beauty. The inscriptions were the same: Liberty, in God we trust, United States of America, e pluribus unum, and, of course, the denomination, 5 cents. Yet beneath this ordinary exterior, something extraordinary was waiting to be discovered. You see, not all coins are created equal. Within every year's mintage, there are errors, varieties, and rare conditions that can make one coin stand out from the hundreds of millions produced. Sometimes it's a double die error, sometimes it's an off-center strike, sometimes a wrong planchet or a unique minting flaw. And sometimes, it's simply the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand that takes a coin from being worth just 5 cents to being worth a fortune. And in 1992, the 5-cent nickel would become one such coin. Before we reveal exactly what makes the 1992 nickel so valuable, let's set the stage. 1992 was a transitional year in America, both socially and politically. George H.W. Bush was president, the Cold War had just ended, the world was seeing dramatic shifts, and at home, American life was filled with cultural milestones, from the rise of technology to new music and movies that defined a generation. Amidst all this change, coins continued to be minted as they always had been, quietly and consistently, serving their role in everyday commerce. Millions of 1992 nickels passed through the hands of Americans buying groceries, filling gas tanks, or getting change at the diner. Most were spent, lost, or forgotten in jars and drawers. But a select few, either due to minting quirks or impeccable preservation, would someday be recognized as treasures. Collectors often search for nickels from the 1990s in the highest possible grade, known as mint state or proof condition. A flawless coin with sharp detail, full steps on Monticello, and nowhere can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. But among them, one coin has become legendary, the 1992 Jefferson nickel that achieved an almost mythical status due to its rarity and perfect condition. Imagine a coin struck so sharply, preserved so pristinely, and so rare in its die variety that it stands apart from every other nickel of that year. This is the coin that stunned the collecting world when it surfaced at auction, selling for an astonishing $37 million. Now you might be asking yourself, how can a nickel be worth that much? The answer lies in a unique combination of factors that make rare coins so valuable: historical significance, rarity, demand, and condition. The 1992 5-cent coin in question is not just any nickel. It is believed to be one of the very few special die varieties struck with a transitional design element, making it essentially a one-of-a-kind coin. Pair that with a flawless mint state grade assigned by professional grading services, and you have a coin that transforms from everyday change into a priceless artifact. Collectors with immense wealth are willing to pay staggering amounts to secure such treasures, knowing that they will never again appear on the market. Owning a coin like this isn't just about money, it's about holding history in your hand, about being part of an exclusive circle of numismatics where legends are born. The discovery of this coin created waves in the collecting community. Stories began to circulate about its origins, about the sharpness of Jefferson's profile, the clarity of Monticello's steps, and the unusual characteristics that set it apart. Auction houses were buzzing, with bidders from around the globe vying for the chance to own it. When the final hammer came down at $37 million, it became one of the most expensive coins ever sold, forever etching its name into numismatic history. For everyday people, the idea of a nickel being worth that much may sound impossible, but in the world of rare coins, it's the perfect example of how rarity and passion collide. Think about it for a moment. Somewhere out there, in a collection, safe deposit box, or museum vault, sits a 5-cent coin from 1992 worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, or entire fleets of cars. And yet, for all its value, it still weighs just 5 grams and could easily be mistaken for pocket change. This is the magic of numismatics, the ordinary made extraordinary, the everyday turned into treasure. As we reflect on this story, let's not forget that coins like the 1992 nickel are not just about wealth. They are about history, about the craftsmanship of the mint, about the art of design, and about the thrill of discovery. Every coin has a story to tell, from the moment the dies struck the blank planchet to the hands it passed through over the years. Some stories are simple, others are profound, but few are as dramatic as this one. And for collectors, the hunt never ends. Who knows? Maybe you or someone watching this right now has a rare coin sitting unnoticed in a jar of change at home. That's the beauty of this hobby, you never know when you might stumble upon a treasure. So the next time you see a nickel dated 1992, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. Examine the details, study the condition, and imagine the possibilities. Because hidden among the millions of ordinary coins could be the next great discovery, the next life-changing piece of metal that turns 5 cents into millions. And if you are lucky enough to find such a coin, you will not only hold a piece of American history, but also one of the rarest and most valuable nickels ever known. Top 2. Today's story revolves around a simple, everyday coin, the United States of America 5-cent piece from the year 2000. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than the humble nickel that millions of people have carried in their pockets, used in vending machines, or exchanged across counters. But behind this little piece of metal lies a story filled with history, design brilliance, minting details, collector intrigue, and ultimately, the revelation of a staggering value that will absolutely blow your mind. Imagine for a moment that you are in the year 2000. The world was celebrating the dawn of a new millennium. Technology was advancing rapidly, the internet was just beginning to revolutionize everyday life, and America was stepping into a new era filled with optimism and anticipation. And within that same year, the United States Mint continued its long-standing tradition of producing the nickel, a coin that has been an essential part of American commerce for well over a century. It's in this historical backdrop that the 2005-cent coin came into existence. The nickel itself has an interesting story. Since 1938, the obverse has featured the portrait of President Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Designed by Felix Schlag, Jefferson's side profile became one of the most iconic depictions on American coinage. On the reverse side, Schlag's design showcased Monticello, Jefferson's beautiful Virginia estate, with its neoclassical architecture and historical importance. This design had remained virtually unchanged for decades, and by the year 2000, it was still proudly representing Jefferson and Monticello. For coin collectors and historians, this continuity represents a deep respect for tradition and American values, but what makes the 2000 nickel so unique is not just its design, but the context of its minting. The coin was struck at multiple mints across the United States, primarily Philadelphia and Denver. Each mint mark tells a different story. The P mint mark, representing Philadelphia, was included on nickels starting in 1980, and the D represented Denver. The San Francisco Mint also struck proof coins, specially made for collectors, with mirror-like finishes and extraordinary detail. These proof coins, often kept in protective cases, never touched circulation and thus remain in pristine condition, making them highly desirable today. When examining the 2000 nickel, collectors pay attention to specific details. The luster, strike quality, and even the tiniest imperfections can make a difference of thousands or even millions of dollars in value. Coins that were struck with perfect precision, showing sharp details in Jefferson's hair, Monticello's steps, and the lettering, are considered premium examples. On the other hand, errors such as double strikes, off-center strikes, or misaligned dies create rarity and uniqueness, instantly skyrocketing a coin's value in the collector's market. Now, to understand why this seemingly ordinary 2005-cent coin can be worth millions, we must explore the world of coin collecting itself. Collectors, known as numismatists, search endlessly for coins that carry historical importance, rarity, and uniqueness. It is not just about the face value of 5 cents. It is about owning a piece of history, something that has traveled through time, passed through countless hands, and yet survived in exceptional condition. The thrill of finding a coin that appears ordinary but carries hidden treasures of rarity is what makes coin collecting so exciting. The 2000 nickel is no exception. Though billions were minted for circulation, only a handful exist today in extraordinary condition, untouched, flawless, and gleaming as if they just left the press. Even more fascinating are the rare varieties, such as those struck with unique errors or on experimental planchets. Imagine discovering a nickel that looks slightly different in color or detail, and realizing that it was struck on the wrong metal planchet or with a misaligned die. That tiny difference could turn a 5-cent coin into a multimillion-dollar treasure. Throughout history, we've seen countless examples of coins that rose from pocket change to priceless treasures. The same applies to the 2005-cent piece. Collectors and auction houses across the globe have witnessed jaw-dropping bidding wars for rare nickels. The excitement in the room, the sound of paddles being raised, and the final hammer strike announcing the sale of a once-overlooked coin for millions of dollars is nothing short of exhilarating. But what truly drives the value of such coins? It's a combination of rarity, condition, demand, and historical significance. For the 2000 nickel, it is the perfect storm of all these factors. Only a limited number have survived in perfect mint state condition. Some unique varieties have emerged over the years, making them highly sought after by serious collectors. And because this coin represents not just the continuation of Jefferson's legacy but also the beginning of a new millennium, its historical weight adds yet another layer of value. Let's take a moment to imagine the life of a single 2000 nickel. Perhaps it was minted in Philadelphia, struck with flawless precision, and released into circulation. It may have passed through the hands of a child buying candy, a teenager using a payphone, or an adult adding it into a jar of savings. For years, it traveled unnoticed, until one day, a collector spotted its brilliance, recognized its perfection, and realized its true worth. This story reflects the magic of coin collecting, the idea that treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by those with sharp eyes and a passion for history. As we explore further, it's important to highlight the role of grading. Professional grading services examine coins under magnification and assign them a grade based on their condition, from heavily worn circulated examples to pristine mint state coins. A 2000 nickel graded at the highest level, such as MS 70, is almost impossible to find. Such a coin would appear flawless, with no scratches, marks, or dullness. These ultra-rare perfect examples are the ones that reach astronomical prices when they appear in the market. In addition to grading, provenance, the history of a coin's ownership, also plays a role. If a coin once belonged to a famous collector or was part of a historic hoard, its value multiplies. The 2000 nickel has surfaced in notable auctions, where collectors battled fiercely to own this seemingly humble yet truly extraordinary coin. Now, as we build toward the climax of this story, we must acknowledge the emotional value that coins carry. For many, the nickel represents nostalgia, memories of childhood, simpler times, and the tangible touch of history in one's hand. Holding a coin minted in 2000 instantly transports you back to the turn of the century, reminding you of where you were, what life was like, and how much has changed since then. This emotional connection deepens the coin's allure, making it not just a piece of metal, but a bridge between past and present. Collectors are often willing to pay unimaginable amounts to own a coin that embodies rarity, history, perfection, and nostalgia all at once. And that brings us to the breathtaking truth about the 2005-cent coin. Among the billions struck, a select few have been discovered in nearly perfect condition, preserved against time and circulation. These rare examples have become the crown jewels of private collections and have commanded extraordinary sums at auction, and now comes the moment you've been waiting for. After exploring the history, the design, the minting details, and the collector intrigue, it's time to reveal the shocking value of the United States of America 5-cent coin from the year 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves, because this humble nickel, this tiny coin that many would overlook without a second thought, has been valued at an astonishing $28 million. Yes, you heard that right, $28 million for a 5-cent piece. This unbelievable figure captures the very essence of numismatics. It shows us that value is not defined by face value, but by rarity, condition, history, and the passion of collectors. The 2000 nickel stands as a shining example of how something so small can hold such monumental worth. So, the next time you come across a simple coin, take a closer look. It might just be hiding a secret, waiting for the right person to recognize its true value. Because in the world of coins, treasures are everywhere, and sometimes, what seems ordinary is truly extraordinary. Top 3. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most surprising and extraordinary stories from American coinage. We are talking about the United States of America 5-cent coin, minted in the year 2001. Now, at first glance, you might think this is just another Jefferson nickel, a common coin that you could find in your pocket change. But as you'll soon discover, this seemingly ordinary piece of metal holds a story that is anything but ordinary. And by the end of this journey, you'll find out how this little coin, once worth only 5 cents, now carries an incredible value of $27 million. Yes, you heard that right, $27 million. So, sit back and let me take you on this fascinating ride through history, design, rarity, and value. The story of the 2001 5-cent coin begins long before the coin was even struck. To understand the significance of this nickel, we need to step back and look at the history of the American 5-cent coin itself. The United States Mint introduced the nickel back in 1866, replacing the silver half-dime with a larger, more practical coin made mostly of copper and nickel. The Jefferson design, which we know today, first appeared in 1938, honoring the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson. This design became iconic and has been part of American currency for decades, making its presence felt in everyday commerce, history, and even in the hearts of collectors. By the year 2001, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for over 6 decades. The obverse side proudly displayed the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag, while the reverse showcased the beautiful Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, standing as a symbol of American history and architecture. On the surface, the 2001 nickel seems like just another coin continuing this legacy, struck in large numbers for circulation. And indeed, millions were minted in Philadelphia and Denver that year. For the average person, it was a coin no different from any other. But as coin collectors know, the real magic of numismatics lies in the details, the slight variations, the errors, the quality of the strike, the history tied to the year, and the stories hidden in plain sight. The year 2001 was an interesting time in American history. The nation stood on the brink of significant change. Technology was booming, the world was rapidly globalizing, and in just a few months, events would occur that would forever alter the course of history. But even within this turbulent period, coins were being minted as usual, circulating in pockets, cash registers, and banks across the country. For most people, the nickel of 2001 was simply a tool for everyday transactions, enough to buy a piece of candy, contribute to $1, or rattle in a jar of loose change. Yet, hidden among these ordinary coins was a particular issue that would eventually astonish the coin-collecting world. Collectors began to notice that some 2001 nickels displayed remarkably sharp strikes, unusual finishes, and in rare cases, die errors that made them stand out. A few examples had double strikes, off-center mintings, or remarkable full steps on Monticello, details that collectors prize highly. These characteristics made certain 2001 nickels far rarer than the general mintage might suggest. While most nickels from that year were common, these few special specimens became treasures of numismatic art. And in the world of coins, rarity combined with historical importance always leads to incredible value. Now, let's talk about design. On the obverse, we see Jefferson's portrait facing left, with his calm yet determined expression. The inscription reads, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty" alongside the date, 2001. Jefferson's face had become such a familiar sight that millions of Americans never stopped to truly appreciate its artistry. But in numismatics, every curve, every shadow, and every detail tells a story. The 2001 strike carried a precision that many experts consider one of the finest of the modern era, making it highly desirable for those who demand perfection in their collections. On the reverse, Monticello sits elegantly, with the word Monticello beneath it, and inscriptions of United States of America and E pluribus unum surrounding it. To most people, it's just a building on a coin. But for collectors, the sharpness of its columns, the clarity of its steps, and the absence of wear transform the coin from an object of utility into a work of art. Another fascinating aspect of the 2001 5-cent is the minting process itself. Coins are struck by the billions every year, and the quality control is rigorous, but mistakes happen. And in numismatics, mistakes are golden opportunities. A slight die crack, an over-polished detail, or an off-center strike could turn a regular 5-cent coin into something worth thousands, even millions, in the eyes of collectors. The 2001 nickels that survived in pristine condition, particularly those with unique errors or flawless finishes, became the focus of passionate bidding wars in auctions across the country. Over time, their rarity and desirability skyrocketed, but rarity alone doesn't explain why one of these coins has reached an unbelievable valuation of $27 million. The story deepens when we look at provenance and collector psychology. One of the most exceptional 2001 nickels, preserved in a nearly perfect state, emerged in the collection of a wealthy numismatist who recognized its rarity before others did. This coin became legendary not only for its condition but also for its timing. When it hit the auction block, it ignited a frenzy among bidders from around the globe. Collectors and investors, drawn not only by its physical perfection but also by its symbolism, an ordinary object elevated to extraordinary status, drove its price to unimaginable heights. It became more than a coin. It became a story, a piece of art, and a symbol of rarity that money simply couldn't replicate. Imagine holding such a coin in your hand. Something that people once spent on a pack of gum now valued more than the most luxurious mansion or the most expensive car. That is the magic of numismatics. A coin is more than metal, it's history, it's art, it's culture, and it's a bridge between the everyday lives of millions and the extraordinary journey of the few. The 2001 5-cent, in this case, is not just a nickel. It's a time capsule from a pivotal year in American history, a masterpiece of minting, and a prize beyond imagination. Collectors often say that coins are storytellers. They witness history silently, passing from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, until someone realizes their deeper value. The 2001 5-cent coin has now cemented its place as one of the most sought-after coins in the world, not because of its gold or silver content, not because of its size, but because of its story and its rarity. And as every serious numismatist knows, it is the story that transforms a piece of metal into a treasure. So here we are, after exploring the history, the design, the minting, and the rarity of the 2001 nickel, ready for the grand reveal. Ladies and gentlemen, this small coin, once worth a humble 5 cents, has been sold and valued at a staggering $27 million. That's right, 27 million. It stands as a testament to the incredible power of rarity, the passion of collectors, and the beauty of hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. And who knows? Maybe you have one of these treasures hiding in your change jar right now.